This video is sponsored by Empire Fantasy Football League, one of the world's biggest fantasy football games where millions of people play fantasy football a year. Here is a brand new way of getting involved with a game that brings millions of people, including myself, to fantasy football and the game that we love. Pick your fantasy team with the salary cap that you are given, and throughout the season, you'll compete against people worldwide, and you can even track how you're doing against your friends as well. You can buy and sell players throughout the season as well. And the price matches how they're actually doing on the field throughout that season. You can also earn money to spend on your team by wagering within the season as well. And the best part of it is it's free, and it's free all year. So sign up and make sure you go to www.empireff.com to start today to go and play one of the best brand new fantasy football games out there provided by Empire Fantasy Football League. Go and enjoy it and have a great rest of your NFL season. And once again, it is www.empireff.com. Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. I hope you're doing all okay. We are moments, hours, just days away from the NFL starting. What an exciting season we're going to have. It's been the sort of deadline day for cutting and roster cutting today. So along with our own transfer deadline day that we have in for normal football, soccer to the Americans, I suppose, it's been happening today with people getting cut, roster cuts, some trades are happening as well. Deshaun Watson staying in Houston, apparently. Chris Herndon on the move to the Vikings. So much is happening. But the Franchise Tag Podcast is going to be with you every step of the way throughout the season. We are joined once again with Adam Martin and Ash as well. Ash in the NFL, the Red Gambler. They're back with me again, my co-host for the season. Andrew Manning will be joining us as well on our shows. Very excited today. We are going to be doing our sort of season predictions. We've gone through like the playoff predictor, which if anybody wants to do that, if you Google playoffpredictors.com, gives you a really great prediction site to go through week on week. All of the games, gives you info in there of who's coming off the bye, what days they're playing, home and away, and everything like that, and division breakdown as well as the wild card and the playoff breakdowns as well. Really, really good site. I've used it many a times. I've done these sort of episodes before when I was just on my own, going through a whole episode, a week by week analysis, really, of what I thought was going to happen in the season. Done pretty well with my predictions in the past on there. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's always been over half of the game. So hopefully, we're going to have some pretty good predictions here today. We're going to talk about all our seasons. All three of us have predicted our seasons and who we've got finishing where. And then we're going to do our own sort of playoff run, I suppose. So, I mean, Ash, it's moments away from the NFL now. We're very soon to that Thursday night game, Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How excited are you for the NFL to kick off?
I'm actually super excited. I just can't believe how quickly it's actually come around. The off season just seems to have flown by. But training camp and preseason have actually been really interesting, especially for some rookies out there. Some key injuries, I think, across the board anyway, have seen kind of players already out for the season, which is always sad and disheartening. But I'm super excited for next Thursday. And then the next 6 months of my life will be very much caffeine fueled to try and stay up until about 3-4 in the morning, especially on a Sunday. And those Thursday and Monday night games as well. But yeah, I can't wait. I do think that the Buccaneers will win, though, on Thursday.
Oh, well, we can all go home. Ash thinks the Buccaneers are going to win, and that's the end of it. So we don't have to bother to tuning in, do we? So, yeah. I think it's great that it's finally back, and I think it's going to be great that you're going to get everyone having the full stadiums as well. That's a big thing. And it was a frustrating end to last season for me and Ash as Packer fans, but hopefully they'll be able to go a little bit better this year. And it should be an exciting season, especially doing the franchise tag along it. And also, we've all got tickets to the London games as well. So, that's something that's going to be fun as well. So, it should be good.
Cannot wait for them London games either. We're all going to be there, the Franchise Tag Podcast. Hopefully we'll have hoodies for you both by then. But either way, we'll be there. We'll be advertising we're there. Hopefully we're going to be doing some cool things around the stadium. But if you just want to come say hello, have a beer with us, we're going to be there. So that'd be really great. We've got a lot of friends of the podcast going, a lot of people we would probably like to meet because of the podcasting that they do and the work that they do. So yeah, if you are at the Tottenham games, you're going to be there, let us know. We'd love to meet up. And we'll be definitely in the area all day for both games. So, yeah, we might as well get on to the predictions. We've got some wild ones. We've got some not so wild ones. We've got some crazy teams getting into the playoffs. We've got some crazy teams missing out. We've got probably some very weird and wonderful wins and losses ratios and everything like that. And it's this year, a lot to think about. Like I said, fans back in the stadium, not that there's no COVID, but COVID hopefully not playing as much an impact with these games. Yes, like Ash said, there is injuries annoyingly happening already, and it's very sad for the players that are going to be missing this year. But because of having the preseason training and stuff this year, hopefully we're going to see a less amount of injuries during the season, because there was so many last year, and it just changed the dynamic for so many of these teams. And that's probably why some of these predictions we're going to do may be seen a bit out there, because if people are only really getting into the NFL from last year, or if you just think of the 2020 season, unfortunately, sport can be a bit of a short-term memory thing. 2020 was a crazy year, and it was a crazy season, and it brought out a lot of crazy scenarios and things that happened. So hopefully this year we'll balance back out the teams that maybe didn't do so good because of injuries, because of that prep time. And we'll see just really competitive football. If all of us have agreed doing his predictions, it is so competitive. There is so many good teams, so many good players, so many good quarterbacks and coaching staff, that the NFL is now more competitive than it is ever going to be. Hopefully it will get just more competitive, but it is the most competitive it ever has been at the moment. So, Ash, we're going to start with you with your predictions. Take us through your season, like a storybook that we all love to read. We'll look at your wildcard and playoffs as well. We may throw some criticisms. We may throw some questions in there, me and Adam. But you go right ahead.
Fab. So let's start with the NFC North and my Green Bay Packers.
I wonder why.
Like I said, why not? But as I said, I think earlier, it is difficult not to be biased towards your team, but I do have the Packers taking the division. It's difficult not to take them as division winners. I do have them going 15-12, and going 6-0 actually for the division. I've got them kind of winning everything.
15-12.
My argument for that
one.
I didn't like to say, but
I've got them
2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it the wrong way around.
You said 15-12.
They're going to be busy
15-12,
boys.
That's
all I'm saying.
You see, you've added 10 games there.
I mean, I like
15-12 because Aaron Rodgers. 15-2. Sorry. Yeah. I can't remember though who I got them losing to. I think one of them was the Chiefs for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be a real tough game anyway. And I have a sneaky feeling that the other one I had them losing to actually was the 49ers. For the life of me, I think that's just going to bring back some bad memories for Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago. But I do think, that could be a bit of an upset game. That is another one that we lose. But otherwise, I actually quite like our season, like the Packers season. I quite like the games that we have when they're at home, when we're playing on the road and stuff as well. But I think the big thing for us, if we can win week 1 against the Saints, obviously that just puts, a big old kind of mental pressure at ease, and hopefully sets it up straight for us as well. And then otherwise, I'm looking at my prediction for the NFC North. I think I've gone a little bit skew with somewhere, but I do have the Vikings going 5-12. So they're losing a hell of a lot of games apparently. And the Lions, the Lions as well. I've got 3-14. Same with the Bears. So I'm a bit dubious about maybe what I've done there. But I just honestly, especially looking at the Lions, I just don't know if Goff is actually going to turn up. I just really don't know. It could just be a whole kind of shambles. But hey, I do like being proved wrong from time to time and everything. Just, as long as the Packers do win that division, then all is good, all is golden. And as long as we beat the Bears twice, then that's good as well.
Yeah, I have to say, I think that I think it would be very surprising if the Packers didn't win the division. I've not been quite as I feel a little bit unfair on the Bears, maybe. I've got them at 7-9. I've got the Vikings at 5-12 as well, and the Lions also at 2-15. So yeah, so I think with the Lions it's going to be very difficult to win any games there. They've not got many receivers available. The Vikings are one of them teams. They've got some really good star players, and I actually think, as we said at the beginning of the episode, it very much is that there's a lot of these games could go either way. There really is that point, and the Vikings are one of them teams where it could go either way. Again, with Chicago, I've got 7-9, but I could easily see them going like 9-8. No, sorry, 7-10. I could easily see them going 9-8 or something like that. But realistically, Chicago's got a new quarterback, which Justin Fields will come in. Jared Goff, not great. Kirk Cousins, he's okay, but not great. I would be very surprised if the Packers didn't win it if they keep fit. So, yeah.
See, I've gone Packers winning it as well, but being not the Packer on this episode, as I'm joined by two of them, I've got you at 12-5.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I think 12-5 is a good. I think I've got you losing to people like 49ers. I think the Chiefs as well. I've got you winning some of them. I've got you winning most games, really. Obviously, being a 12-5 team, but I think your defense is still not amazing. I still think there is them holes there, and there's teams going to come against who will take advantage of that. Same with the Bears and Vikings. I've got them both at 8 and 9. Again, with the Bears, I feel like I think by week 3, I think Dalton starts for the first 3 weeks, loses all 3 games, and I think they're against decent teams as well. I think Justin Fields then comes in. It's one of them. It's Justin Fields, the rocket fuel that pushes this team into that. You got to remember, they got to the playoffs last year on a poor record. They went 8 and 8, and they got to the playoffs still. This defense is a lot of names on paper that didn't step up that much this year. If they step up, they won 12 games the year before that with Mitch Trubisky under center, because they've got people like Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks in that middle there, Jalen Johnson on the boundary as corner. They've got decent players on that defense, and Justin Fields is that fire that ignites it. Then this team could really have a great second half of the season. Same with the Vikings. Vikings last year were for a team for me that I thought were not going to turn up. I don't think I had them winning 6 games last year. I think I had them winning 6 games. I thought they were not going to be good. But then, obviously, Justin Jefferson, incredible. Dalvin Cook has really, really taken that next gear up. It's just their defense. I don't think their defense has been sorted out. I think they've got some good players like Harrison Smith, but it's just not what it could be. And again, Kirk Cousins shaky. Lions 1-16. I've got them. Which again, apologies to Detroit fans, the Lions fans. My problem is, I think you won 4 or 5 games a year with Matt Stafford, and Jared Goff is not Matt Stafford. You have no receivers. One receiver you had your cut, Rashard Perriman, only yesterday. You've got Tyrell Williams, Quintez Cephas, DeAndre Swift is now looking like he's going to be. I think he's got a pretty big injury, right? I think he's looking like he's got a bit of a niggling issue. No, I think J.K. Dobbins has got the big injury, but I think DeAndre Swift's definitely having something niggly happening to him. And their defense has got nothing. I don't think he has anything. They're looking at Jelani Tavai going. I thought Jelani Tavai is a pretty decent linebacker personally. Their corners are so-so. I don't see any positives in this team. And I think you're going to get a scenario like we had with the Jets and the Jags last year. They will never admit it, but they'll get to that second half of the season. And by that point, it's November. Will the college games happen? The college quarterbacks who look good are starting to come through. They're going to be looking at that number 1 pick and going, right, we're going to go get our number 1 quarterback, our number 1 guy. It's exactly what the Jets did and exactly what the Jags did last year. No one will admit it, but I think they will tank, personally.
Yeah.
I think that we kind of know that Goff is a bit of a stopgap, though, don't we? I mean, he's only going to be there for next year. It'd be surprised that, maybe he'll be there for the first half of the year after, just to bring the new guy in. So I can't imagine he'll be there. for much longer. When it comes to the Packers, for me, I feel that it's a much harder schedule this year compared to what it was last year. I think, so I've got them at 13-4, but as you said, Freddie, they've got some tough games. San Francisco is going to be an issue because it always is against the run game. You've got Cleveland. Again, that run game against them is another one. Unfortunately, I think they will struggle a bit more, but I still think they're going to have more than enough to compete against that division.
Okay, so then we move into the NFC South of things. Obviously, the Super Bowl winners in that division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ash, you was vaguely talking to us about it at the start. I feel like you don't think Tampa Bay are going to be as effective this year.
No. Another surprising division for me, apparently, with my predictions. I don't know. So, I think people are out to get Tampa. I think, as much as he is the go, as much as he is an amazing QB, I think, I'm one of the fans. I would like to see somebody else get a ring rather than Tom Brady and the Buccaneers for, a second year in a row. So I don't have them winning the division. And surprising to some, maybe, I have the Falcons taking the division 13-3.
13-3.
Yeah. Oh, that's only 16.
I'm going to put a loss in their column. I'll call it 13-4 if you like.
13-4. Let's do it. This playoff predictor thing has messed me around. Let's go 13-4. Okay, they're still taking the division. It's all right. It's been a long day for me. But you know what? I'm actually really excited to see them when they come to London, though. I'm really excited about Kyle Pitts, for example. I'm excited to see kind of what Matt Ryan does. Obviously, is it a loss that Julio Jones is no longer there anymore? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it's going to affect the Falcons as much as people think, in my humble opinion. I think it could be a great time to see other people come through and shine 100%. But in second place, I do have the Saints. It's going to be fun to see what Jameis Winston does. If he starts off his first game with an interception, I will die laughing. Classic him. But then I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then sadly, bringing up the rear, I do have the Carolina Panthers going 6-11. I think I do think, they've got the most difficult kind of games and stuff with the division anyway. But yeah, Falcons to take the NFC South. You heard it here first from Ash and the NFL.
What records do the Saints and the Bucs have?
So my Saints, I've gone 12-5.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got. Let me just add this up, make sure I've actually done it correctly now. Yeah, so I've got the Buccaneers 11-6.
Okay, all right. So, okay, I can. That's a bit more of a pill I can swallow in a way.
Yeah, it's not going to be a complete whitewash, but I do think some of the games anyway, especially playing against their own division, I think it's going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be as much of a walkover anymore. Unless a team like the Falcons do choke, that is always a massive possibility and stuff, knowing what they're like. But I do think it could be a really interesting division. And, I'm kind of excited about the NFC South, watching them play this year. And like I said, I just think people kind of want to take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, really. So they'll go out fighting and kind of give it all they've got.
So is your thought process with the Buccaneers, is it kind of almost like you feel that because they've brought everyone back, everyone's going to kind of know what they do, so therefore they'll be better prepared for it?
That is a very big possibility. I think my biggest thought process was that I might still be a little bit disgruntled about the NFC Championship. That could have played a massive factor subconsciously. Who knows? Right. But that is
angry.
But obviously, I think that is quite interesting. They have brought everybody back. People, will they do anything differently? Are they going to bring something new out the bag? I'm not sure. I think people, are probably going to take a gamble and go in all guns blazing, knowing kind of what their moves are, what their plays are. So yeah, potentially, but I just think people want to put up a fight. So I think this will be a division definitely to watch. More so between the Falcons, the Saints, and the Buccaneers, really. Sorry, Carolina Panthers. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting and a tougher division anyway than the NFC North. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think the exact opposite, really. So I think it'll be a really interesting division. I think it'll be really exciting to watch. I think the Falcons are going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch because they do have some really good offensive weapons on there now, especially with Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley. I think with the Mike Davis showed when he was at Carolina that he's decent, but he's not fantastic. So I do feel that it's going to be very pass heavy for them, and their defense is not great. So they are going to have to throw that ball and attack a lot, I think. So they're going to be a really interesting team to watch, an exciting team to watch. I think the fact that they're going to be in London, that game will be a really exciting game because of that. So that's a good thing. But the problem is that I always feel that it's the defenses that normally ends up meaning that you win games, and you can go out and you can try and shoot out the other team, but more often than not, you're going to come up unstuck doing that. So I've only got them 3-14.
Wow, that's what a turnaround that is.
When it comes to the Saints, I actually think they're going to struggle a bit this year. I think without Drew Brees there, Michael Thomas is going to be gone for a while. That's a big chunk of their offense gone. Defensively, they're still pretty good. They've got some decent players there, but I think they will struggle a bit. So I've got 7-10 for them. Now the Panthers, I'm quite high on the Panthers. I actually think they're pretty decent, and a lot will depend on Sam Darnold. But I do feel with players like Robbie Anderson now and DJ Moore, you've got some, and of course you've got Christian McCaffrey coming back. That's the other thing. You've got McCaffrey coming back. That defense is being drafted a lot. They're bringing in a lot of good young defenders there, so I think they'll do well. So I've got 8-8 for them. I think that'll probably be a good record for them and an improvement for them. And then when it comes to the Bucs, I understand that there is the theory of that people have seen what they do, but Brady showed under this scheme that he can go and throw it around all over the place and win. And for the past 20 years, he's been dinking it and dunking it to Gronkowski or Edelman in New England and winning that way as well. I can't see anything other than a Bucs win for this. And to be honest, I think they're going to be incredibly difficult to stop again. As much as I would like to see them not win it, because like you said, Ash, with the whole Green Bay thing and the fact that, Brady's been winning it so many times, it would be nice to see a few other people win. I just feel that, with that team, I think they're going to be very difficult to stop.
What record do you think the Bucs will have?
So I put it through on here. I've got them at 15-2. I think that's probably a little bit too high for them, but I can see them getting 13-14 quite easily.
Oh, see, I just think that's so high.
It's Tom Brady. It's the Buccaneers. Yeah. Their defense is so good. Their secondary so good, and it's young and it's actually, and then the offensive weapons. I worry about their running game. I think Ronald Jones is still not the best runner, really, but
they did bring in Gio Bernard, though, didn't they? I mean, I see when Mixon's been out, he's looked decent. I think he's a good one to have back, and you've got Fournette there as well, so that it's not.
They've
it's
got
not
options.
That bad.
They've got lots of options. They do exactly like Patriots did when he was with Brady. They move the ball around so much to all these different players, all these different options. They're still so positive. I think you're right, though, Ash. I do think they've got a target on their back. And I think because of how much they have kept the team together and the synergy, one perception is, well, then they can be read easily. But another perception is that synergy is not what all these other teams have, where these players stick together for a long time and have that winning mentality. I've got them winning division 14-3 as well. I think that is a little high. I think it might actually be more like 12. There was games last year that Tampa lost, and do you remember when Tom Brady, they lost like 2 on the trot and Tom Brady went ballistic at the team and then turned it all around? I think something like that could happen again very easily. 12 wins would be 14-3 I've got, but 10-7 for the Panthers. Last year, my sleeper team to get to the playoffs was the Arizona Cardinals. I really, really liked the Arizona Cardinals. I still like the Arizona Cardinals. The Panthers are my sleeper team to get to the playoffs this year. I have them at 10-7. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is an adequate quarterback, and they've improved on that with bringing Sam Darnold in, who is more mobile. They're going to have Christian McCaffrey for a full year. Their wide receivers options are really good. I think this defense last year for me was the get them out there, get experience year. And this year is going to be you've got your experience. Now let's step it up again. You've got people like Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin. Oh, there's so many good players for that team. I mean, JC Horn obviously is there now. That's going to be a great upgrade at corner. They've just got so many dynamic defensive players. I really like the look of them, and they're my sleeper team, so to speak, this year. The Saints, I have going 8-8. 8 wins is because their defense is really good. 8 losses is because James Winston, he can play, but there's no wide receivers outside of Michael Thomas, and they don't have him for 6 weeks. Alvin Kamara is a stud. We can't deny that. He will win them some games. Now, they've lost a few names on the defense, but it's one of them where they've played a long time together. Sean Payton knows how to run that defense. They've kept some of their key guys, Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan on the line. They don't tend to have loads of injuries from what I remember, like in the defense anyway. It tends to be one that sticks together. But again, losing Drew Brees, losing Michael Thomas, your stud receiver, there's not much outside of that. But James Winston's decent. If they go more than 8 wins, up to maybe 10-11, it's all Sean Payton in my mind. It is just the fact that he's been there for so long and has that culture within New Orleans. And then I have the Falcons going 5-12. Again, offense, I think, is going to be so fun to watch. I think I agree with both of you in the fact that Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, they've got the other wide receiver. I can't remember for the life of me now. He's just Russell Gage, I think, could really break out. Mike Davis, I think, gets bad rep. I think he looked really, really good when he was at Carolina.
He did. He looked all right.
He looked a good second running back. Outside of Grady Jarrett, who is there? There's no one for me in that defense. And teams have won and have gone very far on just having a very high-powered offense. They got to the Super Bowl doing that. And in a way, I can understand, Ash, with your scoreline, with it being a bit higher than Ryan Adams, I suppose, that is their offense that good that they can just outscore people? And they might be able to do that. Teams have got to Super Bowls. They did. Other teams did and got to the playoffs by just doing that. They could be very capable of doing that. It's just, is it sustainable? Matt Ryan is a very experienced quarterback. I don't know if it's sustainable or not over there in Atlanta. Let's move on to the NFC East. I think this is going to be a very interesting one for all 3 of us. This could either be very, very similar or very out in the air. Ash, who's winning the division for you?
Right. So the NFC East, let me just get it up. So I am a huge Washington fan.
Massive. Okay,
I have them taking the division. I'm so excited to see them play. Big fan of Fitzmagic. Very excited to see him play. And I think he's just got a great team around him. Fab. So I've got them taking the division. I do have them going 13-4. And I have them going 6-0 on the entire division as well. I think they're just going to have an absolute stormer of a season. Second up, I've got the Cowboys going 8-8. Oh, going 8-8, which is interesting for me. And I've got them going 4-2. No, 8-8, 8-9, and I've got them going 4-2 on the division as well. And then I've got the Philadelphia Eagles. I've got them going 11-6.
11-6, Philadelphia.
6-11. Guys,
okay.
Very tired.
6-11. Oh, okay, that's
6-11.
fine. That's all right. That's okay.
And then I've got the Giants bringing up the rear with, I don't know if it's a sad thing, 3-14.
Well,
it's good. It's a good thing Andrew isn't here.
Yeah.
Today. Me, he'd be livid.
I know.
What's your reasoning for that, though?
So I think with Dak Prescott coming back, I think it could be really exciting. I think I'm going to give him definitely another year, and really maybe kind of like another year for the Cowboys as well, to maybe like prove themselves. I think on paper they've got such good players, but seeing what they were like last year, you know, they always got so far and then they just lost right at the last hurdle. You know, you can have great quality players and everything, but if the team doesn't kind of come together, if something just doesn't click, you know, that's how you lose games and stuff. It could all be very different though with fans coming back. I do think that played a massive kind of part maybe with this whole division, I think last year. But I'm quite happy with the Cowboys coming second in the division still. I don't think they're going to win. I really do think Washington are going to take it. When I was doing the games, actually, I had Philly winning a couple of crazy games, which is actually why I've got them taking 6 games, to be honest. They're a team I'm not 100% sure what they're going to be like this year. I'm a bit 50-50 on them. I think, for example, most of their home games, I think they're going to try and win. But their road games, having a look at kind of, you know, week by week when I was doing this predictions and everything, I do think they're going to have a real big tough time. So then obviously with the Giants and stuff as well, it was kind of a similar thought process with the Eagles. I just think they've got a really tough schedule, to be honest. And it could well be, you know, some good tough games and everything. It could be really close scoring, but when push comes to shove, I just didn't have them winning when the whistle blows at the end.
So when I did my betting video for this, I tipped up the Dallas Cowboys just purely because I think that, although I think defense is probably the thing that makes you win the most, I do feel like you have to have a competent offense as well. And Dallas have got an extremely good offense. And I feel that I do kind of feel that Dan Quinn is going to help that defense out a bit more as well. So I've actually got the Cowboys still winning it. I got a lot of stick from Andrew for picking the Cowboys because of Dak Prescott's arm. But even with that injury, I still feel that it's not going to take that much against certain teams to win these games. I think that their offense as a whole is very strong. My worry with Washington, I really like Washington. I agree. I think they're a really good team. Great young defense. When it comes to Fitzpatrick, I've seen it too many times. He goes on a run and wins 3 or 4 games, and then goes on a run and loses 3 or 4 games. And because of that, it just makes you feel like they're not going to be able to sustain it over the whole season. The only thing they do have in their favor is that because that defense is so good, they might not have to score that many points in order to win games. But so I've got Dallas 12-5, Washington 10-7, because I do think that Washington will do well. And then after that, I've got the Giants. So I've got them at 5-12. I think they're going to really struggle this year. We don't know if Barkley's going to be 100% fit. Their defense is decent. I think it's okay. It's not bad, but it's not as good as Washington. And I can't, you've got it's weird. You've kind of got all these star receivers that Kenny Golladay's turned up, but he does pick up injuries. Evan Ingram has been injured all the time. Who else have they got? Sterling Shepard. He keeps on getting concussions all the time. With Barkley as well. There's something there that, for whatever reason, it's just not clicking. And then you've got Daniel Jones at quarterback, and he's unfortunately he just doesn't seem to be the guy. Hopefully he can stay on his feet this season. That'd be nice, I suppose. But and then after that, you've got the Eagles, who I've got at 3-14, and they're another team who I just feel that you don't quite know what they are at the moment. They don't really know what they want to be, and it's like
they've got a huge identity crisis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jalen Hurts is kind of this small rushing quarterback kind of guy, and then they bring in Gardner Minshew, and it's just kind of a little bit like, I get that they need a number 2, but it just kind of feels a little bit like not quite right. And then you look at the wide receivers, and there's not a lot there. A couple of them are younger, but they had injuries last year and things like that. So yeah, I feel like with the Eagles and the Giants, I feel like they're kind of, well, probably more so with the Eagles, that they're in a big rebuild. But I feel like the Giants are kind of they've got these good players. They just need to bring in a decent quarterback, I think, is what the Giants need to do. So yeah, I think, for me, I think Dallas, it's kind of the boring pick to win it, but I think that they will probably outscore them.
I think this division is won by the best young front seven in all of NFL football. Washington is, you've literally echoed my thoughts as you were talking. I was in my thought, my next point is going to be that Fitzmagic may lose some of these games, but I don't think Fitzmagic has ever played in a defense that is this good, that can almost protect him. Because he will intercept the ball, he will do their big throws, but he's got Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, who can definitely go up and get them big throws. And it's not like the corners in this division are incredible. Yes, James Bradbury, Adoree Jackson. Outside of that, it's not really loads of good corners in this division at the minute. I've got them 11-6, which may be a bit high, but I just think this defense is so good, and I think we forget how good Ron Rivera is as a coach. I think he's such a good coach. The Cowboys, I've got them at 8-9, and the Giants at 7-10. That could easily switch around for me. Again, with Cowboys, I think it's all high power offense. Again, a lot of names on paper. Can it be effective? Yeah, I think it could, but Zeke's not really hit the mark like he did in them the first few years. CeeDee Lamb looks amazing. Murray Cooper looks amazing. Don't get me wrong, but if Dak's injury lingers, I just don't know with his arm. And I'm not convinced on this defense. I'm just not convinced at all. I love the Micah Parsons pick. I love him with Leighton Van Der Esch. I love the Keanu O'Neal matchup in there as well. I just don't see much outside of that. I'm not totally convinced on Dan Quinn being DC there. I'm not really convinced of Mike McCarthy. Obviously, you guys will be vaguely fond of Mike McCarthy, not entirely fond, but he won you a Super Bowl, but he also got into a lot of ruckuses with Aaron Rodgers. So you guys have your opinions on him, but I'm not convinced of him at Dallas. And now I've got the Eagles at 4-13. Again, it's an identity crisis. What are they? Who are they? I don't know what they want. What do they want going for? I don't understand really what's going on there. They've not decided who their quarterback's going to be. It feels like they are not bought into Jalen Hurts. They're bringing Gardner Minshew. They've got Devontae Smith, and outside that, no one proven. Okay, I can totally accept that Jalen Reagor could take a step up. I'm absolutely fine with that. I look on their defense. Fletcher Cox is your biggest name, and he's also 32. It's all old. Everything's old on that defense, and it's not good old. It's just, it's a lot of cap situation there with guys that have highly paid and they're not very good anymore. It's not the fighting Philly spirit that it was a few years ago. It feels like a franchise that even the fans are like, what are we? Who are we? What are we? Like, Philly, like you said, Ash, with the fans being back the same, I think it does matter a lot for this division because it is a really Philadelphia passionate football town, New York passionate football town, Dallas passionate football town, Washington, okay, not known for being a huge passionate football town, but are definitely more behind it now with the name change. And I feel also with them being a bit more of a better team, really, they are definitely behind it. Have obviously this division is books and books of history. And it doesn't deserve to be this division that is like an afterthought. And it is still an afterthought. Unfortunately, everyone still feels that way about the NFC East or the NFC East, whatever you want to call it. This division deserves to have 4 really strong teams. But I could argue all 4 of the teams have something missing. But Philly, for me, are the one that's missing most because I just don't think they know what they are at the moment. Right, let's move. Sorry, go on, Adam, if you were about to say something.
Do you not think that having the fans in can also be a bad thing?
Definitely.
For that division.
I think Philly could turn very quickly.
I think New York could as well.
New York could turn very quickly on Joe Judge and Daniel Jones. I think the Dallas fans could turn very easily on Mike McCarthy. I'm just not sure about that division at all. And we'll finish off with I think the most competitive division in football, the NFC West. Ash, why don't you give us your breakdown?
Fab. So this is the division that I'm actually very happy with my predictions with. Again, though, I think it's going to be really tight. To be honest with you, I do have the Seahawks taking this division. I've got them going 14-3. I'm a big DK Metcalf fan. I have him all over my fantasy. I think he's going to just tear a new one this season. Massive fan of Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson, he loves them. And, he's kind of stated that he's adamant he wants to stay and everything as well. I think the Seahawks could be a little bit of maybe kind of like an interesting winner that nobody kind of maybe really expected maybe for this division this year. I was a little bit let down with them last year, to be honest with you. But I do think that they're really good this year. Next up, I've got the LA Rams going 12-5. Matt Stafford, could be a really nice change of scenery from Detroit all the way down to LA. It's going to be a question of how quickly he's definitely gelled and stuff with his teammates. I think we're going to kind of get a feel of that, especially within the first couple of weeks, always. But in terms of the team, I mean, he's just got it absolutely stacked. I really like Cooper Kupp as well. But I mean, obviously their defense, the LA Rams defense, it's great. Like you said, Adam, earlier, I do think, having a great defense, what's that quote? Defenses wins championships. I think there's really big certain elements of that. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but I do think you need a good defense to kind of get you, especially through the playoffs to the Super Bowl. And the Rams, I think, definitely have that defense there. And then next up, I've got the little Arizona Cardinals. I've got them 11-6. So I think it's going to be a question of what Kyler Murray can bring to the team this year as QB. But again, I think their team is just incredibly interesting. I'm really excited to kind of see what JJ Watt kind of brings to the team as well. Not only is he easy on the eye, but I think he's a incredibly good player. So I'll be excited to see what he does there. And then bringing up the rear, I do have the 49ers going 10-7. So, I mean, really, all of them, they're quite high numbers, actually, to be honest.
But it's such a strong division. I can't argue with that. It's such a strong division.
I've actually just started taking it back and just been like, that's quite high, actually. But yeah, the 49ers, I think 10-7. They're going to be an interesting team. Obviously, do we know, is Jimmy G the starting QB?
Pretty much, I think.
Yeah. So I think obviously, again, depending on how he does, what the situation is there. But, I think, he leads a great kind of offense and stuff as well. George Kittle is back too. Again, coming back off quite a big injury that was, season ending for him last year. So that'll be interesting to see how he does as well. But from what I've seen at kind of training camp and preseason with him, and even at that tight end university that he ran as well, he just looks like he's on fire. So I'll be really interested to see that. And then also, I'm I am a kind of a big fan of Raheem Mostert, their running back. I do have him in my fantasy lineups as well. I think he could have a really interesting, potentially breakthrough career and stuff this season. So, I mean, who knows? But yeah, like you said, I think this division anyway, I think is completely stacked, really competitive. I've got them kind of all winning a lot of games. So it is quite high. But yeah, so Seahawks to win and 49ers bringing up the rear.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before, I think this is definitely the division where potentially any of them could win it. They have the ability to do that. However, I do think that you're going to see a slight sort of difference between the four teams even. I've got the LA Rams winning it. I think that the defense is great, really strong defense. I think Matt Stafford is going to make the difference for them. It was a bit of a blow that Cam Akers got injured. I think he was going to have a really good season. But you've got Darrell Henderson's a good running back. They've brought in Sony Michel. It wouldn't be shocking if they brought in another veteran maybe as well for that. They're all in on this, and I think that they'll probably take the division for it. I've got them at 14-3. I think they'll do very well. They showed last year by getting to the playoffs that they're a good team, and I think they'll continue to do that. For me, I've got the 49ers next at 12-5. I think the 49ers, they struggled a lot with injuries last year. It's going to be incredibly unlucky to have that sort of season again. And you've got to remember that the year before that, they got to the Super Bowl. So, this is a really strong team. Kyle Shanahan's great coach. I would be very surprised if they didn't end up in the playoffs. But I think the Rams, over the course of the season, might just have a bit more. And then when it comes with the other two, Seattle and Arizona, I feel that there's a few more question marks over them. Seattle, you had all the trouble with Russell Wilson during the summer, where he didn't seem particularly happy. Offensively, like Ash said, I think are great. I think, you've got two really good wide receivers in Lockett and Metcalf there. And I think that you'll probably find that they'll do really, really well with that. But defensively, they are not what they used to be. And, the whole Legion of Boom years have well and truly left them now. And I think that's going to be enough for them to struggle. And then with the Cardinals, it's a weird one. These are all kind of like new players that have come in. You kind of feel like whether they're going to all interact with each other okay, whether that's going to work. And also, they've kind of brought in a lot of older players as well. People like AJ Green, JJ Watt. Yeah, they are still, they're good players, but they're not at the peak of their performance anymore. And it feels a little bit like a bit of a strange one for them. And I'm not.
It felt like they were very much going for young and developing.
Well, that's how it felt like before. And then it's almost like because it kind of felt like the Rams brought in Stafford and they panicked and they went, oh God, we've got to compete. So they just went mental in free agency and brought in these older names. And I don't know, it kind of feels a little bit of a strange one. And I think because of that, they might find they might struggle a little bit more compared to the other teams. I think I've got the Seahawks at 8-9 and the Cardinals at 7-10. I just feel that they're not quite going to match the heights of the other two. But I think the Rams this year, I think they're all in, aren't they? And I think you'll probably find that they'll go quite far.
I am going to agree with Ash. I think Seattle win this division. It has been no secret on this podcast, other podcasts, any podcast, that I absolutely love Russell Wilson. He is like what my favorite player in the NFL outside of a Steelers player. I love him. I think anytime he's under the helm, whether it be sad or unhappy, the Seattle Seahawks are competitive. And it might be a case in some of them games where it will be outscoring, because I agree. I don't think their defense is the Legion of Boom type of defense, but I think it's it's decent. I don't think it's bad. I think when you've got people like Jamal Adams in there, all right, losing Griffin on the cornerback depth chart is a bit tough. It's still got a shaky O-line. I am not sure. I have gone 12-5. I think that is a bit bloated, maybe, but I do think they'll win the division. But it would be really close between them and the Rams. I've got them at 10-7, but the Rams. The only reason I have Rams not winning it is their run game. I don't think Darrell Henderson will do that good. Is a good enough running back for them to do what they want to do best. Like their offense, though, is very active and fun and different. You remember when they went to the Super Bowl, it was Todd Gurley pounding the rock and then these great throws. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can I just say, do you not think that the reason that the run game was like it was because of the fact that they had Jared Goff at quarterback and not Matthew Stafford?
Well, yes and no, because they could. It depends what sort of offense they want to run. If they're going to now go throw-centric, which they will with Stafford, they definitely will, then they're going to rely on that. What I'm saying is I don't think you can rely on one thing or the other. I think you've got to have an absolute perfect mix. And they won't have the perfect mix. Now, Matt Stafford has gone from winning games, breaking records, and amazing stats in Detroit with an awful team his whole career. He's going to the best defense he's ever played with and probably the best offense outside of Calvin Johnson years, having him, that he's ever going to have. That's, for me, outside of having a good running back. If they brought a great running back in, where Cam Akers was still healthy, I think it's a very good offense. I think you need that right dynamic. And I don't think they'll have it, unfortunately, with Cam Akers not being there. 49ers, I've got a 10-7. I think, again, it's a short-term memory thing. I think everyone thinks because they're rubbish last year, because of all their injuries, they're not the team they were. That defense is stacked. It is so good. I think even if Jimmy G loses the first 3 games and Trey Lance comes in, I actually think one player does this every year. That people were like, I'm not sure about Trey Lance at number 3. He's not as good as he should be there. Some people loved it. I think Trey Lance might light up. I think there's always one of them players that is not expected to do as good, or maybe it just gets thrust upon. I think Justin Fields is another one of them players that could just light it up really easily. I just have this really good feeling about Trey Lance with Kyle Shanahan and in that offense, because they've got some really good running backs. Raheem Mostert, actually, like you said, Trey Sermon. They've got some great offensive weapons. Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, even James. I keep thinking Reese James, but he's the football player. Richie James, that's the one. All of them are really good. They've got great running dynamic. He can run as well. I think he's raw, and I think that could be really good for the 49ers. I think that's what Kyle Shanahan really relishes, is someone he can mold for himself. And the Cardinals, I've got at 7-10. I wanted to buy into more. Like, I wanted to them go 10 wins. I actually was really happy when you said that, because that's what I'd want them to get, is 10 wins. Because I really still do believe in that team. I really love players like Budda Baker, Kyler Murray. I love some of all their players they have. But again, I agree with Adam in the fact of they're bringing these age guys in. They seem to panic a bit. And things like Chandler Jones saying that he wanted to get traded out. I feel like there's some disgruntlement there. I feel like there's some things going in that office maybe that we don't know about. And I don't think our O-line is still not great. I don't think they've taken the step up yet from last year. From last year to this year, there's nothing in my mind that goes, yeah, that's a lot better. Zaven Collins maybe could be that answer at the middle linebacker. That could be a fantastic pick in the end, for all we know. And they've still got great players like DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyler Murray. Their running game is a bit of a mess with James Conner and Kenyon Drake. I still don't think they've decided that yet. They'll still rely on Kyler Murray to run the ball, probably. I'd like to give them more, but I don't think they've taken that next jump yet. I just don't. I can't see the next jump for them. So with that in mind, we have 7 teams going through. My 7 teams would be number 1, the Buccaneers, number 2, the Packers, number 3, the Seahawks, number 4, Washington, number 5, the Rams, number 6, the Panthers, number 7, the 49ers. So I have 3 teams coming out of the NFC West, which I think will happen. Panthers are like my wild one that's gone in there, because there's always a team that gets into the playoffs that no one thinks is going to get there. They're my team to go there this year. I think outside of the Panthers dropping out, maybe the Vikings or Bears jumping in, maybe the Saints jumping in, maybe the Cowboys jumping in. I think I'm very confident with that. Ash, how are you feeling about yours? How's yours go?
So I don't like the order, apart from Green Bay going in first, obviously. I'm not happy with the order maybe my numbers are in, but I actually do like my teams that are going through to the playoffs. So I've got the Packers, I've got the Seahawks, the Rams, I've got the Buccaneers and the Falcons going through, and then Washington. And then I've also got the Cardinals going through, which I think, oh my God, it could happen. Who knows? They could just be the absolute underdog, that nobody kind of expected, nobody saw coming. But otherwise though, I'm quite happy with that. I don't no other team really kind of screams out at me that, they're going to make them an absolute run for it. But who knows? I do like being proved wrong. I'm always kind of rooting for an underdog team. I was rooting for the Jets at the back end of last season because I just wanted them to win a couple of games rather than going the whole season without anything. So those are my teams going through to the playoffs.
So my numbers have gone all a bit funny. But what I will say is, for the 7 teams, this isn't in any particular order because, like I say, the numbers have gone weird. But I think you're probably going to be looking at the Rams, 49ers, the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the football team, and the Packers is my 7. The one team I would, I am quite high on the Panthers, and I do think they have the potential, but I don't quite think they'll get there. The Bears are another one who I do feel potentially could get there. I don't think the Saints will. I just think with that quarterback situation, I think it's a bit murky. Even picking Winston, I think it's still a bit murky, and I don't quite know how that's going to go. I think when it comes to it, you're going to be looking at the Bucks and probably the Rams or the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, I have to say. I'm the pessimistic Green Bay fan. Ash is the optimistic one over there. So, I don't know. I suppose it kind of depends how it all works out. But I think the Bucks and the Rams are the 2 strongest teams in the NFC this year.
A lot of stock going into the Rams there from Adam. Well, that's our predictions for the NFC side of things. We'll be having another episode with the AFC side of things coming out very soon, where we'll then marry up all the wildcard games into our Super Bowl as well. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate your support. We're going to be here all season. Let us know what you think of our predictions. Comment below when we put it out on social media. Tell us if they're rubbish. Tell us if they're good. We're not bothered. We just want the interaction. These are predictions. They're for fun. Everyone's are different. So, some people love it. Some people hate it. But just remember, it is all in good fun. And we'll be bringing out more episodes very soon. So until then, have a great week. And get very, very, very hyped up for the start of the NFL season.